Hey, RetconRaider here. Today's episode is dedicated to Nazzul, who you may know better as our resident blood-cycling flagellant, Luzon. Thanks for your continued support, Naz. That said, let's get started. Our latest expedition to the Warrens had not gone well. Beset by monsters and madness every step of the way, it was no small miracle that they had managed to succeed in their mission. Still, given the state they were in by the time they had returned, it was going to take quite some time to make sense of the scrawled notes and scribbled maps that Carol had presented me with. In the meantime, I tried to make sense of her report. It was obvious that both Gwydn and Ronwyd had become afflicted with the Crimson Curse, but Demenara's fate was far more mysterious. Some part of her had been killed or locked away, keeping her trapped in a catatonic state. Carol insisted on taking her back to the sanitarium for observation, and I saw no reason to refuse her request. Demenara had risen from the dead once before, so perhaps someday she could do it again. Although the details were hazy, it sounded as if they had encountered some monstrous new threat, something that could infiltrate their dreams. Carol and Ronwyn only had fragmented memories of the incident, and Gwydn refused to speak of it at all. Cultists and zombies were one thing, but how could we ever hope to fight literal nightmares? Whatever those things had been, the only trace they had left behind was a handful of glistening scales. If any good had come from this incident, it was that it had revealed just how woefully under-equipped my recruits had become. While my resources were still very limited, I spent the next several days reaching out to my contacts in the neighboring settlements. By the end of the week, we had received everything we needed to make some modest upgrades to both the blacksmith and the guild hall. Although the price was steep, I also contracted the local adventurers guild to begin screening potential recruits on my behalf. With any luck, they would find heroes who were better suited to handle the numerous dangers awaiting them here on my uncle's blighted estate. By the time I had finished making arrangements, our scouts and cartographers had completed their analysis of the previous expedition's notes. While their findings were far from conclusive, Dahl believed that Carol and the others had been on the verge of stumbling onto something terrible. The brutish pigmen were barely more than animals, but she seemed certain that they were being guided by some sinister force hidden deep within those twisting tunnels. It was something that we couldn't afford to ignore, but I was loath to send any more of my recruits to an uncertain fate. Perhaps sensing my reluctance, Luzon volunteered to lead a new expedition back into the tunnels to investigate. He had been struggling to come to terms with his newly afflicted state, but he insisted he was of more use out in the field than he was locked away in the sanitarium. While I did reluctantly agree to his request, I assigned Purge and Roderick to accompany him. They had both spent months studying this Crimson Curse, and together, I hoped they could help the flagellant keep his newfound bloodlust in check. Dahl met up with the rest of the party at the stagecoach, and before they left, I made certain that they were equipped with the finest armor and weaponry that the blacksmith had to offer. I just hoped it would be enough to help them overcome whatever new horrors were waiting for them down in the Warrens.
The ways and rituals of blood sacrifice are difficult to master. Those from beyond require a physical vessel if they are to make the crossing into our reality. The timing of the chants is imperative. Without the proper utterances at precise intervals, the process can fail spectacularly. A nameless abomination. A testament to my failures. It must be destroyed.
Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to episode 16. Today we're headed back into the Warrens to take on our third boss fight, the Swine Prince. While I only have limited experience with a lot of the newer content, I fought this guy plenty of times back in the original beta, so I've got a pretty good idea of how to handle him. At any rate, let's take a look at our heroes. Luzon Nazzul. Purge. Roderick Reeves. doll. Now, first things first, we need to give Roderick some blood. Like I said, my experience with the Crimson Curse DLC is pretty limited. But I have been informed that leaving my vampiric heroes in the wasted state for too long could cause them to die. Obviously, we don't want that. Fortunately, Lizan seems to be doing okay, so we'll hold off on giving him blood until right before the boss fight. Speaking of which, as usual, I'm assuming that the boss fight is the room farthest from our starting point, so we'll be headed straight towards him.
Watch your step.
Of course, it just had to be our healer who set off that trap. His stress is already getting a bit out of hand. I did buy some laudanum when we were picking up supplies, but since this is newer content, I'm not actually sure how to use it. We'll just move on for now. Okay, we can't afford to have Luzon stressing out the rest of the party, so we'll go ahead and give him some blood. I would have liked to save those buffs for the boss fight, but it's not worth the risk of driving our healer crazy.
Finding the stuff is only the first test. Now it must be carried home.
Things are actually pretty clear so far. Oh, scratch that. They're starting us off with a nice, easy fight.
A death by inches. Press this advantage. Give them no quarter.
Poor guys, they didn't even stand a chance. Of course, we do have a pretty massive advantage. Because of that special event back in town, we've come into this boss fight with 3 over-leveled characters. Granted, they're only level 3, but it should still be enough to make things significantly easier. There's a treasure room, but we'll ignore it for now. Alright, it's another nice, easy fight.
Back to the pit. Another abomination, cleansed from our lands. A trifling victory, but a victory nonetheless.
Honestly, these fights are so easy, I think even a level 2 party would be mowing right through them.
The match is struck. A blazing star is born.
Okay, the next room should be the boss fight, so let's get in there and take him out. Oh, wow. Okay, well, now we can see most of the dungeon, and it does confirm we're headed into the boss fight. You know, this has been a bit too easy so far, so let's see if we can make things a little more interesting. Let's backtrack a bit and set up camp. This will give us a chance to get our stress under control and clear some space in our inventory.
Huddled together, furtive and vulnerable. Rats in a maze. Such a burden of finery risks life and limb.
Now let's see here. Okay, we're definitely using bandit sense. The last thing we want is to be ambushed while we're resting. Our other priority is reducing Purge's stress, but his only stress heal will stress out the rest of the party. Still, I think we can actually work with that. Yeah, this should work out just fine. There we go. Not perfect, but definitely better than what we started with. We've even got 3 points left over, so we can toss out one more buff. Alright, heroes. Get some rest.
In Radiance, may we find victory.
Okay, now that we've got our stress under control, it's time to make things more interesting. We're going to douse our torch before we head into the boss fight. That should make things a little more challenging, and it should guarantee better loot drops afterwards.
The darkness holds much worse than mere trickery and boogeymen.
Good luck, heroes, but I'm sure you'll be fine.
It is a travesty, a blundering mountain of hatred and rage.
Well, Luzon still has bloodlust. That makes this even easier than I thought it would be.
Precision and power.
All we have to do here is neutralize the Swine Prince as quickly as possible. He can deal out pretty massive damage, but that's what the Weakening Curse is for. It's also why we brought along Dahl, so... Oh, wait a minute. Well, I meant to equip her with Skeet Shot before we came into this fight, but honestly, I think we'll be fine. Purge's Weakening Curse should be more than enough to win this fight. Yeah, we're doing fine so far.
A decisive pummeling.
He's still doing some pretty hefty damage. Let's have Roderick down some more blood.
Inspiration and improvement.
Nice. Luzon is on point with those heals. Let's keep those debuffs up. We got a little careless with that when we fought the Prophet.
A powerful blow. Thing is even more horrible than death. Liquefaction cannot come soon enough.
Okay, now we just need to kill the little guy.
A singular strike. Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive.
Well, I think that went about as smoothly as possible. The loot is pretty underwhelming, but I can't really complain.
A full pack often attracts unwanted attention.
We're still in pretty great shape, and we've got a map of the entire dungeon. We might as well clear the place out before we leave. Hey, it's these guys again. This time, we know to take the gatekeeper out first.
As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms.
Okay, I think we need to take out those supplicants next. They seem to have the highest chance of spreading that infection.
Eradicated.
Dahl is ridiculous with those crits. Alright, let's wrap this up.
Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles. The wounds of war can be healed, but never hidden. Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all.
Huh. Baron's invitation. Well, we're definitely not leaving that behind. Oh, and, we even got an achievement for it. If you needed confirmation that I've never played this content before, then there it is. The rest of the loot's pretty underwhelming, but I guess we don't really need the laudanum. Alright, let's move on. We've got a treasure room ahead, so that means a guaranteed fight. Let's see what we're up against. Oh, that's not so bad. This would normally be a medium difficulty fight, but with surprise on our side, it's pretty trivial. Well, I could have planned this out better, but that's fine. At least we took out one of them. Let's finish this.
weapon that cuts on its own.
That disease stone is kind of interesting, but I don't know if I'd ever actually use it. Let's at least make some room for that gold. Okay, what the heck. We'll grab the disease stone. We've already got a bloodstone back in the hamlet anyway. There's a stun stone too, but we've already got plenty of items that are better than that one. We've got another treasure room ahead. Let's see what's waiting for us.
A handsome reward for a task well performed.
Well, once again, it's a somewhat challenging fight, trivialized by surprise. Not that I'm complaining.
Impressive.
We've got the bloodletter neutralized for the moment. Let's see if we can take out one of those other guys.
Obliterated.
Ridiculous. The bloodletter's about to drop dead, so now we just need to take out the slicer.
Prodigious size alone does not dissuade the sharpened blade.
Okay, more treasure we can't carry. Alright, I think we can afford to dump the antidotes and the shovels at this point. We're pretty unlikely to get blighted in the Warrens, and we know we're not running into any more barricades. There's more loot we can't carry. But I think we'll leave this behind. I'm not quite ready to drop anything else. There's a keg. That's a guaranteed damage buff as long as you have herbs. No surprise this time, but this should still be a pretty easy fight.
Annihilated. Executed with impunity.
Wow.
Remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer.
Not bad. We're finally seeing some pretty serious loot. Let's go ahead and dump that disease trinket. Like I said, I was probably never going to use it anyway. I would like to take that portrait too, but I don't think it's worth dropping anything else.
A fortune, waiting to be spent.
Now I think this thing gives you a damage boost. Yikes, maybe not. Okay, let's never touch one of those things again.
Wealth beyond measure, awarded to the brave and the foolhardy alike. Ancient traps lie in wait, unsprung and thirsting for blood.
There we go. We finally got a real fight on our hands. Really?
Dazed, reeling, about to break. Slowly, gently. This is how a life is taken.
Unfortunate.
Reeling, gasping, taken over the edge into madness.
Well, no big deal. We're almost done here anyway.
Decimated.
Nice. We get a lot of use out of that evasion incense. There we go.
Seize this momentum. Push on to the task's end.
Okay, that was the last fight we had to face, so we can afford to dump our supplies now. In fact, let's go ahead and eat the rest of our food, too. I do want to hold on to the torches, just in case we find some scrolls, but I guess we can dump the herbs. Let's crack that chest, then we just need to check a few more curio.
Packs laden with loot are often low on supplies.
Nice, a perfect fit.
Glittering gold, trinkets and baubles, paid for in blood.
Okay, let's dump the key. I was saving it in case we found a secret room, but I guess that's not likely to happen. Well, we're all out of holy water, so I don't think it's worth the risk to mess with those bones. And that means we're pretty much done here. Not bad. It definitely could have been better, but I've got no complaints. That Coven signet is especially interesting. I think we'll get a decent amount of use out of that. Really? Wow, that is hands down the worst result we've gotten after a mission. Nothing but negative quirks, and as a bonus, Dahl walked away with tetanus. Anyway, it was still nice to get an easy win for once. We'll pick up here next time.